they love little Timmy, and they miss little Timmy, and they, everybody, the whole family just wants his burial to be here and has peace of mind, in that sort of way. We just want his body, and just to say, we're a big forgiving family, and
Warning. The podcast you're about to listen to may contain graphic descriptions of violent assaults, murder, and adult language. Listener discretion is advised. Welcome to the Murder Police Podcast. Thank you for joining us as we continue to look into the missing person case of Timothy Sterner in the episodes we call Never Forget Little Timmy. In this episode, we are joined by Timmy's uncle Terrance Sterner and Timmy's grandmother, Sandy Sterner. Let's learn more about Timmy and his family. Welcome to the Murder Police Podcast. We have with us today Terrance and Sandy. We are here today to talk about the missing case of Timmy Sterner, who we will refer to as Little Timmy hereafter, and David, of course. Yeah. So how are you, Terrance? And let me thank you for taking your time to come in and talk with us today.
Thank you. I'm doing fine. I'm doing really good right now. I really appreciate y'all coming down and having this time with us.
Thank you for talking with us. Miss Sandy, thank you for coming, and how are you today?
A bit apprehensive because, he hasn't been found. So sometimes I get leery of that because it's very hard on parents and children. And I'm so happy that you all want to share with us.
Well, we're happy as well.
My grandson was a great guy. And that was one man that knew it. So did his dad. And he loved his father so deeply. And he always shared that with me. He had so much pride in his dad. His dad started working at 16 years old and is still working for Mr. Corman. And that's saying a lot. That's saying a whole lot. And how little Timmy grew up.
Well, that's what we're hoping to do today, is to dig in and talk about Timmy, bring some light to who he is.
That was great, Mom. That was really good.
Very, very sweet.
What?
That was really good. I mean, that was right to the heart. I mean, yeah, I like that.
That's what it's all about.
I know it's true.
It's the soul that hurts.
Yeah, I know.
It's like a rock. Mm. And if you don't give it to God, and this is what I've told his dad, if you don't give it to God, you'll go insane. And we're not the only people in this world, even today, that are losing children with all the fighting and the gunfire. And I work in a hospital, and I see that pain. I see the miracles, and I see the pain. And you have to be there for other people also, because we're not the only ones. And we need to share and love one another, because that's all God wants, is unconditional love.
That's right.
And I'm sorry that there are people out there that think they can take someone's life. But I'll pray for them too. But that's very hard sometimes. Sometimes you got to forgive yourself before you can
that's right.
forgive other people. But this has been quite devastating. It's harder at night, and I can go to work and I can drop everything because I've got people to take care of. But the nighttime is terrible. So you can't do anything but know you're dealing with your two sons that were so close to him and how much he loved them. Is just totally amazing, because I guarantee you, when Terrance went up there and it was like, boom, I said, why did you do that? They could have harmed you. It doesn't make any difference. He was up there He was up there. And he was up there for his brother, too. So I'm proud of him. But it's hard to deal with their pain. And as a mother, you're dealing with 3. And God bless all of them. And my grandchild was so great. I'll never forget Tim and Tammy coming over to the house. You could put that child down. Boom, he was gone. And that arm a pumping, like he was doing the water thing, you know? Tammy couldn't catch him half the time. He had to end up at a fence or someplace where she could get him. And then one day, they both came over with him. He took off. She caught him, brought him back. She set him down again, and boom, he was off. But he was headed towards the road in a car. I've never seen anything, but I thought my son was a Superman. His dad, he had him scooped up in a heartbeat. That's when he went inside. But that's the way it was with him. He was always, even when we went bowling, he was running down the lanes, you know. We took the whole family. Remember Dan's? Was you there at Dan's birthday party?
I think it might have been 1 or 2, but yeah, that was Timmy, for sure.
Little Timmy, yeah. He was on his way.
Yeah, I taught him how to ride a motorcycle. He was a little fella. He couldn't even touch the forks.
But he was willing.
Bet to give him something to do, and he loved the speed. And it was a 100. I'll never forget it. And I rode with him, taught him the gas and everything, and second gear was fine for him. And I rode with him for 2 days solid, you know, to get him to ride that bike. And never forget, it was a Honda 100. And he went down. I just slid off the back of it finally because he was controlling it just fine. And then he went all the way down the field, and he turned around, and as soon as he seen me, he fell over.
He realized you weren't there anymore.
Yeah, he didn't know I was there. When he realized I wasn't there, he fell over. And I was like, dang on, you had this. He come running at me like he's hurt or something. I'm like, what is wrong? Because he stepped right off the bike. He wasn't going that fast. Because he was come around the curve, and as soon as he seen me, he fell over. And he's just looking at me going, I hate you, Uncle Terrance. What'd you do that to me for? Well, you can always, and when he was in trouble or something, I can hear his voice now. Uncle Terrance, Uncle Terrance, Uncle Terrance, beating on my window. Uncle Terrance. I just hear it all. I hear it all day long. And it's just the memories of him just when he was a baby. I went to pick up his dad for work, and little Timmy's sitting there and I had a pocket full of Jolly Ranchers. He's 2 years old. He's sitting there eating cereal, and I said, I'm going to give him a Jolly Rancher. Timmy jumped back and said, don't give him a Jolly Rancher. And I got 4 kids of my own. I give him Jolly Ranchers at 2 years old. And so he said, I'm giving him one anyway. He said, well, you better watch him. He'll probably choke on it. Well, there's me, Uncle Terrance. And next thing, I'm doing something, I hear this. I turn around, little Timmy's sitting there with a bowl of cereal going. So I go over and I just do a quick Heimlich on him, and he spits up all over the table. And Timmy comes around the corner at the same time and says, I told you not to give him a Jolly Rancher.
That had I told you so written all over it, all the way up to that, for sure.
And one day I went, he was always into something. I went over to the house to get his dad. It wasn't too long after that, and I look in, and little Timmy's got he wasn't but 2 years old now. He had this the chair pushed to the counter. He had a big old thing of coffee in his arms, like this, and a spoon, and there was coffee everywhere. Nobody is just, and I got there a little early. Nobody was up, and I'm beating on it. I'm still going, and I didn't want Timmy to get down off the counter himself, so I did punch the window out. Then Timmy comes in there and jumps my butt, his dad. What'd you punch the window for? Well, I didn't want him to come down off the counter, but he knew what he was doing. Little Timmy he survived some of the weirdest things, I tell you.
Was he pretty close to your kids?
He was definitely. Oh yeah, he was very
especially
close
Josh.
To my kids.
Especially Josh. Like right here, you can see him And Josh, I bought Josh because it was Josh's birthday, and that's Timmy behind him. And this is one of those chairs that's got music and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And here, I'll let you pass it around.
But like Mom said, the unconditional love that goes in the family is something that Mom brought to the family. And you did, believe me. You brought it to the family.
Well,
you know it.
I'll never forget the time that him and Josh, I can't remember where we was going, but we was on a little trip or trek going someplace. Those two were in the back seat telling me how they was going to run away from home, go to Florida, start their own life. I think they was like 13 years old.
Yeah.
I got the biggest bang out of that, and I said, and just how are you going to get down there? Oh, we're going to hitchhike. And I kept asking them different questions. Well, what are you going to do when we're going to get jobs. Don't worry, we can get jobs. They had the fantasizing like you wouldn't believe. And I'm going, oh my goodness. And I had the most fun listening to their little stories, how they was going to make it in life and be rich in Florida. Totally understood what they was talking about. I said, well, why don't you put your pinkies together and just say you're Siamese twins, and then they'll never separate you.
I remember I got in a little trouble, and I got home, and Mom, I come in, and it was a couple of days after that, she said, Terrance, I think Timmy's on that stuff, and she said something about heroin. She said something about I don't even know how to say it. Heroin, yeah. And she said something about, I said, no, because I'd done seen little Timmy. I've been hanging around little Timmy and everything. And I said, she said, what's wrong with him? Why ain't he coming home and stuff? And I said, he come through the door or something. I run at him. I said, boy, you on that heroin? He just looked at me like, shut up.
No, really. That was, if I found anything in the house, it was horrifying. And I'd call the police and have them come. One time there was some black stuff in a little bag. I thought it was cigarette gunkin that he burned, but I saw a policeman come over and he says, that's called tar. I said, well, what is it? What is that?
THC.
I don't know what it was.
Yeah, you extract
anyway,
it from
the officer
marijuana.
took it away. Timmy went to rehab. And that's what it was all about.
Yeah, Mom was serious about that.
Yeah, he went to rehab a lot with me. His whole demeanor in life.
He loves
something. And I don't, he just couldn't seem to adjust to grown-ups. When I put him in school and I walked in there and those people were just loving him and smiling, and he just so mean. I said, why are you that way? He didn't trust people. But then, as he went through school, they was having a award ceremony. And I said, I'm going to come to your award ceremony. He said, no, Grandma, because I guess he didn't think he was going to get anything. And I said, you don't want me to come? And he said, no. So I didn't go. But all of a sudden, he rushed in that door when he got off the bus, and he says, Grandma, you just wouldn't believe it. He says, you just don't know what it's like. I wished you had been there. And he said, I've never felt that feeling before. I've never felt, Grandma, look what I got. And he gave me that. And I've always treasured it. I've never let it go.
95% attendance during the school year.
Yeah, he was. And he said, I just wish you had been there to see me. He says, I've never felt it. So he felt it in the soul and the pride.
The pride of receiving it.
Exactly. And when he came to visit right after he got out of jail, that's the first thing I showed him. Just lift him up.
Yeah.
Make him remember that feeling.
Yes.
Right. But how old was he when he got that?
He was, grade was he in Providence?
He was like 10 or 9 or 10 years old.
Because he was a football star.
What years
now,
on
and
that?
I didn't know that.
2012
Really?
to 13 high school.
9 years. Yeah, he's about 10 years old.
So he was.
No, he was in Providence. He was.
Was it Providence?
Yeah.
2012, 2013.
He had left. He'd come back
I guess
to me, and
what year was he
and we
born?
had to. But then I was at West Jessamine. He went to
but
West
he went
Jessamine,
to Providence down there.
and
Catnip.
he was
He loved football.
football.
I'd go to his
And
games,
that
man.
coach, all of us, I actually had Josh in there, and I thought I'd try to put Josh in football. And he says, "What's your last name?" And I said, "Sterner." And he said, "Tim Sterner?" Oh man, that coach went nuts. He said that boy would have been in the leagues. He said he's that good. I would take him in a heartbeat. And I was just shocked because Timmy was good at what he excelled at, and he loved that coach. So
if he put his heart into something, he could really.
yeah, his dad had him. His dad had him in football.
And I taught him to ride a motorcycle.
His dad
That's what he
had him
wanted
in
to do.
football.
So they always rode 4-wheelers, 3-wheelers, and motorcycles. And then his dad put him in football. And I'd go up there and watch him and whistle him on and carry on. I'd be on the fence. Me and his dad would be just pushing him. And then he'd be so proud when he'd do something, and he'd get off there and he'd say, "Uncle Terrance, you see that?" And I'd be like, "Yeah, I sure did. You got him good. Did you see how I grabbed him and threw him down on the ground or whatever?" "Yeah, I sure did." And I'm sitting there going, "I didn't see a dang thing. Y'all was all just all crumbled together."
One big, massive.
Yeah.
Exactly. Hard to pick him out.
But
Probably.
it was something else. I think one day he went out and was playing matches or something, and come back in, and his fingers were burnt. And I said, "What have you done?" And I just freaked out. I just wondered what he's burnt down. And all he did was, like, he was behind his shed and trying to make a fire, and he couldn't make it. I thought to be the right thing to do, instead of him burning himself up, go teach him how to make a fire.
Yeah.
I wish I hadn't done that.
Yeah, exactly. No reason to get him hurt.
Yeah. So, but it's just little things. And Mom would get on to me because I would want them to learn the right way to do things, and she would say they're too young. They're too young. Just like when you learned to ride a motorcycle, I went up in the house. She'd say, "Where's little Timmy?" "Oh, he's back there riding a motorcycle." "He better be with somebody." No, he's not.
It is what it is.
Yeah, Jasmine kind of come and told me to get me for wanting endangerment for letting him ride it. I was like, "Oh, okay."
But he'd go ride it himself, right?
Yeah.
If you didn't teach him.
Yeah.
He
would.
I bought him a scooter.
Scooter, a moped.
But he would go out on a scooter, and guess what? I told him, don't let anyone drive it. It's insurance. You got to think about these things. You get Grandma in trouble. There was that peer pressure on him. He just wanted to be liked.
Yeah.
And you try to teach them, no, you have to be your own person. And he just wanted to be liked. So he'd let somebody else drive it.
I'm sure I didn't drive the wagon all that well with him, but, there was rough ways to go and there was easy ways to go. But that peer pressure that you get, he had that. And,
oh, yeah.
But he had such a big heart, and he hated people to see.
it.
He didn't like to see people being told no, having something took away from him or something like that, And he was a giver.
He was a child that loved children. He would babysit.
Oh, my gosh.
And babysit and take care of some of his girlfriend's children, and that he thought was girlfriends, but they weren't. But he would when he gave love, he gave love. And animals, you could not hurt an animal.
I can't say because it didn't work out with little Timmy and his girlfriends, but I tell you what, every one of them could come in here.
Oh,
right now,
yes, they will.
And I tell you,
they
little
will.
Timmy was such a lovable person, and he loved too much, and he wasn't home 24 hours and before he had a girl calling him up. So
yeah.
Yeah. You know, it's crazy.
And he'd be there. He was a protector. I
Yeah,
think the youngest memory that I've ever had, though, was, well, when he was, his grandpa and I took Tim and little Timmy. He was just a baby. We took him to the bull rodeo in Georgetown. Well, it was so funny. He was too young to even notice, but then later on, I knew all the bulls, all the cowboys, everything else that we'd watched on TV. I'd put him on my leg and bounce him when that bull was bouncing the other one. And he would laugh and laugh, and then I'd give him to Grandpa when my legs got tired, and he would do it. And so rodeo was his big deal, and he loved rodeo. So we had taken him once. Where's that picture?
Did he ever try to ride?
No, just horses.
Just horses?
Yeah, I took them all horseback riding. I used to be from Colorado.
He would try to do anything me or Timmy.
Oh, there it is. Mm-hmm. I used to be from Colorado, and I'd bring the horses down from the high country.
Oh, wow.
Every year. And it was, you know, he'd hear that, and he wanted to know all about it. So I took the whole family horseback riding.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And
he's a nut.
We'd go to the zoo. It was a family thing, you know. I mean, we were all there.
That's I was putting together that the cousins are probably close.
They are. They are really close. They've gotten in so much trouble. They've come close to having all their butts whipped at the same time. But I mean, it's that close. The Summer, Jordan, and Josh and little Timmy, they were like brothers and sisters more than cousins. Yeah. And it's really, even the in-laws, you know, it's married into the family. They've gotten to know little Timmy, and they love little Timmy, and they miss little Timmy, and they, you know, everybody, the whole family just wants his burial to be here and has peace of mind, you know, in that sort of way. We just want his body, and just to say, you know, we're a big forgiving family, and I couldn't say I was growing up so much as I am now. You know, we all grow up, but that's all. We all just wish for his body. You know,
well, we need the closure is what we need, and we may not get it, but as a family, we will do what we have to do. And on the 4th of July of this year, we had a balloon, and the family got together, and Ellen came, and Keith came, and we wrote on the balloons what we wanted to say to him. And then sent them up.
Nice. With
the firecrackers and the fireworks, and then everybody in the family, we had a prayer, and anybody that wanted to speak after that, and I was starting to get emotional, but Summer, Ellen's daughter, was just wonderful with her words. Everyone was so wonderful with their words, and it was a very, very wonderful memorial for him. But we still don't have it.
So why don't you, Terrance and Sandy, why don't you all lead us into, obviously we're here because little Timmy's missing. Why don't we talk about when he first went missing and what has been going on since that time?
Well, Timmy had just gotten out of jail. Remember the week before, and I felt that everything went out of my body, and I came home and I thought it was one of my sons, and I said, "Oh my God, well it's not them." I said, I felt somebody die, and that breath just went out of him, and I said it was like a roller coaster, and that was a week before, but Timmy was still in jail then, so nobody ever thought about him. And then that next Monday, after he got out of jail, his mother brought him straight to me. And I was doing wash in the laundromat, and I heard the doorbell, and I looked out, and there he was. Well, it was a rush. It was such a rush to hug that boy and have him tell me, I love you, Grandma. And then him and his mom came in and we talked for a while.
And this was in April of this year, 2024.
Yes, it was the day before he went missing. Because the next day, somebody put it on that he was missing up at Tammy's, and we were just all trying to figure it out. And then I think Tammy came and talked to you and said, go up to the place where he was really missing from.
Yeah.
And he was up there in a heartbeat. And he put himself in danger. Those are cliffs, and there's water down there, and he could have killed himself. I said, why would you do that? But I think Tammy came to you, didn't she, and said, please go help me find him?
That night after he come to the house, and he waited for me to get there before he left. I drove from the 68 down the river all the way back to Nicholasville to see little Timmy. I was excited. I gotta go. I dropped everything I was doing.
He asked for Terrance.
Yeah, and I come running door. We hugged. And I said, well, get with me. We'll go fishing. And for some reason, I kept getting phone calls that night, but I didn't answer my phone. But that morning, I got up and I was like, well, you going to go fishing? I texted him. No answer. And it was, I believe it was right at 10:10, somewhere around there, 10:15. Tammy, his mom, come barreling through my driveway. Said, little Timmy's missing. He's had a wreck. And we can't find him. I said, I threw my boots on, got my truck, rushed, take me to the wreck site. Went to the wreck site was supposedly be. And you could see where the car went over to the hillside of rocks and stuff, but the car didn't go all the way over. It just went like 15 foot off the road, really, and stopped. And so I was like, well, maybe he thought he'd get in trouble, so he, because I don't think he had a license. So maybe,
no, he didn't, because when he was at the house.
So I thought, well, I'll go search the countryside for him. Maybe he's down in this holler somewhere, and just hiding out until he knows his Uncle Terrance and Dad somebody find him. And so I went down to there, and it's pouring rain, and that creek down there was just gushing. And when you stepped in it, it would take my foot and try to yank, so I couldn't get to the other side. So I had to jig-jag back and forth down through there, and I did about half a mile down that road up until I come up across the road down to the bottom, River Road, and the houses down there. I come up out of there, and then I think it was Tammy picked me up, and then my girlfriend met us on up the hill again. We couldn't find him, and I was just like, well, he's gone somewhere to some friend, something. Well, when my girlfriend was out driving, somebody said something about something and this and that, and I was like, well, that must have been them. Everything's fine. Okay, he'll show up. And then the next day, there was no show, and that's when I got concerned, and I went down to the place where he was supposedly been at that time, and searched the property, asked some questions, got my dog. I got a dog from there. That little dog represents little Timmy. Her name's Baby. But if I'd known then what I know now, I probably would have handled things a little different. But it's just, I don't know. But then I knew he was gone. That's when I knew he was gone. Because the people that was there and the way it went down, nothing added up. There was no adding. A didn't go to B and B didn't go to C, and it was like one person. So now it's been since April. And if I'm from this town, I know lots of people. I know the people where he was at. I know the people that live behind him. I know the people that live on each side of him. Or the people of that house that he was at. And I've heard so many horrific stories, and I've heard some of the things. I mean, I had people come to me and say, what do you want with me? I didn't have nothing to do. Nobody even said your name, And I keep myself I just stay quiet about it, really.
Yeah, so without giving an address, what area, when we talk about where this happened with the creek and everything, what area is this?
So we down on, I would say it'd be the east side of Nicholasville. Is that east?
River Road is
River Road is the road that he would come missing from. It's just down there. It's out Sufferwell. You just go to the end of Sufferwell there and forget the road number.
So when it ends up, we have a place where he was last seen, and people who were there.
Yeah,
Exactly.
There's plenty of people that seen him there that said that he was there. The car that he was driving was picked up there from his mother. She went and got her car from there.
Why
Why
even
people
was
don't come to
driving
me?
is beyond me.
I asked the question why people, you think you have friends, you got the social network, and you think them are your friends. No, they're not your friends. It's social. Somebody sitting there bored or wants to say something, stuff like that. They're not your friends. You don't have friends. I have family. That's my friends, and I rely on that. But little Timmy, I guess where he's young, maybe, I don't know if I didn't. His father, I don't know. It seems like we failed him somewhere because he thought he had friends. But I heard so many different things, and it gets disturbing because I'm his uncle, and I have to investigate this and find out what happened to my nephew for my brother. And it gets irritating because people think, well, the other day I asked somebody who said, well, why won't they tell me anything? Why won't they talk to me? I'm the most understanding person. They can come to me, And they did have, but they just tell me that I've caused some trouble in this town before, but that's not me no more. And I just want, we just want closure, and that's it. I'm not trying to go after nobody or trying to hurt nobody no more than, everything causes ripple effect. No matter what I do, it's going to cause this a ripple effect. And so, I just don't want no part of that ripple effect because I know it ain't going to be good. And it's a shame on all parties of what's the consequences and that repercussions and everything of the whole situation that it could come down to.
Yeah,
from my
but
point
the
of view,
stories,
and the people that loved him.
You hear the story. Well, what's his face said, and I didn't even know Timmy smoked.
Yeah, Mom was like, "What?"
He never smoked. And somebody threw this pack. Somebody that murdered him threw this pack down when he walked in the door.
Hey, there's more to the story, so go download the next episode like the true crime fan that you are.
The Murder Police podcast is hosted by Wendy and David Lyons and was created to honor the lives of crime victims, so their names are never forgotten. It is produced, recorded, and edited by David Lyons. The Murder Police podcast can be found on your favorite Apple or Android podcast platform, as well as at murderpolicepodcast.com, where you will find show notes, transcripts, information about our presenters, and a link to the official Murder Police Podcast merch store, where you can purchase a huge variety of Murder Police Podcast swag. We are also on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube, which is closed caption for those that are hearing impaired. Just search for the Murder Police Podcast and you will find us. If you have enjoyed this podcast, please subscribe for more and give us 5 stars and a written review on Apple Podcasts or wherever you download your podcasts. Make sure you set your player to automatically download new episodes so you get the new ones as soon as they drop. And please tell your friends. Lock it down, Judy.